Welcome back, you guys. Today I wanted to go over 5 tips that are gonna help you prepare or get you really set up for going on a long distance trip. And the first one I want to go on about here is going to be getting your bike set up for you. Now, initially when I first started this, I wanted to just put down, buy yourself a seat. But as I further looked into it, obviously I was starting to think, yeah, you know, that's not going to work. Just the seat's definitely not going to work. What if your handlebars ain't right? You know, what if your foot placement isn't right? So I want to go into it a little bit in depth there. And a seat's going to be the first one I'm going to go ahead and say that you should probably get to make your bike sit right with you. If you're lucky enough that you can enjoy the stock seat that comes on your bike, or if you bought a bike used and you managed to get yourself a seat that was put on it before you bought the bike, that's even better, because that means you don't have to spend a lot of money getting yourself a seat. And them seats can be pricey out there. Also, like I just said, another thing you want to look at is your hand positioning here. Me personally, I go for ape hangers. I want something that's going to keep my arms almost at 90 degrees, so almost straight out in front of me. This is what I found is going to be like the best riding position for me, and it's kind of what they say that you should be aiming for. Anyways, if you look at yourself in a car, you'll notice that your knees are going to be bent at a 90-degree angle most of the time, and you're also going to be bent at a 90-degree angle at your waist there, and your arms are going to be at a 90-degree angle. Keeping yourself square like that is generally going to keep you comfortable, or at least that's what they say. So I would look at where your feet are going to be, because, you know, in all honesty, you might not like mid controls there. Maybe you do want to have your feet a little more out. That is more comfortable if you're doing big distances on the road. And so that can make a pretty big difference. I know I've thought about it myself. If I could just get some running boards out here, this would be a pretty good, comfortable setup. But for the moment, I don't necessarily need it. I personally like mid controls. On that Sportster S that I had, it had forwards and it just felt funky. But then again, you know, my bars were down here too, so, you know, I'm doing this number right here. Really not comfortable, let's be honest. And so that's going to be my first one. My second tip is going to be, buy yourself a tire patch kit. Now, this right here can really save you if, and only if, I guess, you have mags or your bike tire doesn't take tubes. So if you have spokes, this won't necessarily apply to you the same. You can't just shove a cheap tire plug in it and get yourself going. You're gonna have to mess with that tire, maybe get a new tube in there, which actually that's what they mostly say. If you have spokes, they tell you go ahead and carry yourself a spare tube. And also would probably be best if you learn how to get it in there and all that too. You really don't want to carry gear you don't know how to use. So if you do get yourself one of those tire patch kits, which you can get at pretty much any like gas stop, a lot of them have them. They're not the best. I'm not gonna say that you should run one forever, but I got a nail in my tire like freshly after buying the bike. It was literally a week, 2 weeks, and I had got a nail in my tire. I was like, man, this is absolutely awful. So I went to the store and I bought one of those little tire things, and luckily I had got the nail right in between a tread. So that little gap, it's got the little cave, right? And so I was able to cut it down, cut the little end off the end of the tire plug, and get it down there pretty well so it isn't getting pulled on or anything like that. It's not directly being rid on. And I've gotten pretty lucky, and I do check my tire pressures, and I have not had any leakage so far, and my bike tire's still holding up. I do plan on changing it in the future, but at the moment, you know, it's a brand new tire. I'm not ready to go throw another $200 at a tire when I don't even need a tire, but I need a tire. So that's going to be my second tip there. Go ahead and grab yourself a tire plug kit. They're really cheap. I think they're in between $3 and $8 depending on where you go. My third tip, and this one might arguably be one of the most important ones, and that's make a plan, you guys. Whenever I went up to go do the scenic drive through the mountains up there in Arkansas, I literally downloaded an app. There's a bunch of them out there. The Harley app does it. You know, you can do it. Heck, you can even work a way to do it with Google Maps itself. But there's a bunch of different apps out there. You can plan out all your stops and all that. And if you take the time to get to know your mileage beforehand, you can literally plan out every stop, and you don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to run out of gas or not. And that's going to be a good tip out there for you guys who don't have very big gas tanks. I know when I was riding around on my Iron 1200, having that little, I think it's literally just a 3-gallon tank, it really didn't go all that far, especially with the motor, you know, and well, obviously the way I rode it. So planning out all my stops and knowing where roughly I was going to end up at was a big one for me, especially since, you know, some of these trips I just go and do by myself regardless. Woo, look at that right there. My fourth tip that I'm going to go ahead and drop in here, and this one I found I really love, and that's going to be this guy right here. Get yourself a phone holder, you guys. If you don't know where you're at, you know, you ain't been all over the world just yet, a GPS is a lifesaver. Whenever I had that big issue go down after leaving the Iron Horse, I did not know where I was at, you guys. I had rode up there with a buddy of mine, and in all reality, it was my first time ever going there. So what do you do when you've never been somewhere? You know, it really leaves you with your hands tied, especially when it's, you know, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Nobody's gonna be able to come save you guys. So a phone holder, it came in handy for me. Of course, you know, obviously you have to have a phone for that to work, but I can at least say that most people nowadays, if they've got a phone, and let's face it, if you're got enough money to just feel like you're gonna go explore the world on a motorcycle, you should have enough money to have a cell phone. I mean, you're really gonna need that. It's gonna come in handy more than once, I just bet you. So a phone holder, that's gonna be my fourth tip. Go ahead and get you a phone holder. And my fifth tip, do a maintenance check over your bike. Make sure your oil's been changed. Make sure your oil's topped off. If your bike is liquid cooled, make sure your radiator fluid's good. Make sure it's topped off. If you need to change it, change it. If the bike hasn't ever had a fluid change on it and you just bought the bike, you probably don't want to go drive it 500 miles away. Because I can tell you this, you guys, if you happen to have your bike break down on you way out in the middle of BFE, it's going to be expensive. And let's face it, you're going to ruin your trip. And nobody wants to ruin their trip. I mean, how disappointing it is to get yourself everything together and spend all the money to get, you know, all your shit done, and then your bike breaks down on you 500 miles from home. Now you're screwed. you don't know what to do, you don't know who to call and stuff like that. So I would definitely make sure you do a once over on your bike. Maybe heck, do it twice. If you can get that done farther away, maybe about 2-3 weeks. Any more than that, I'd say, is kind of a little bit overkill. A lot can happen in 2 to 3 weeks, but I would start trying to get that done and checked up around a week to 2 weeks out from when you're actually going to do the trip. That way, if for some chance you find out you need to order a part or something, you have a little bit of time instead of rushing yourself and just hoping that your part will come in and that you can get it done. But I hope these tips can be helpful for you guys out there. Thanks for coming back for another one. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching, you guys.